In 1945, 5 children vanished from a burning home in West Virginia. In 1937, a fearless aviator disappeared over the Pacific. In 1975, a powerful labor leader walked into a Michigan restaurant and was never seen again. And in 2007, a little girl's vacation turned into a global mystery that remains unsolved. These are not just isolated events. They are chapters in a larger story about missing persons cases that defy logic, frustrate investigators, and devastate families. This presentation delves into some of the most confounding disappearances in modern history. Cases that remain unsolved, not due to a lack of interest, but because the answers are hidden beneath decades of uncertainty, systemic missteps, and vanishing evidence. Each case offers a unique insight into the social, political, and psychological forces surrounding disappearance. We explore the disappearance of Union leader Jimmy Hoffa, whose ties to organized crime sparked theories ranging from mob execution to federal cover-up. We revisit the case of aviation icon Amelia Earhart, where radio signals, wreckage claims, and forensic analysis continue to shape the narrative nearly a century later. We examine the chilling mystery of the Sodder children, where fire science, conflicting witness accounts, and a mother's relentless search point to something darker than tragedy. And we track the international manhunt for Madeleine McCann, where botched initial responses and media frenzy may have buried key leads. This is not just a study of vanishing people. It is an investigation into vanishing truth and the pursuit to bring it back into the light. A missing persons case begins the moment someone vanishes without a clear explanation. But the complexity that follows can range from a straightforward resolution to a decades-long cold case. Law enforcement protocols are designed for rapid mobilization, intake of the report, issuance of alerts, canvassing for witnesses, and preservation of physical evidence. But real-world execution often falls short, especially when crucial hours are lost to jurisdictional confusion or delayed reporting. Many early cases lacked the forensic tools we now take for granted. No DNA databases, no surveillance networks, and no interagency coordination systems. Even today, while agencies have access to advanced resources, discrepancies in how missing person reports are prioritized can have lasting consequences. A striking example is the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Within hours of her vanishing, local Portuguese police failed to seal off the hotel room, contaminated the scene, and underestimated the gravity of the situation. That initial misstep haunts the case to this day. Meanwhile, the Sodder children's case reveals a different flaw: insufficient post-event investigation. The home was bulldozed before a thorough fire analysis was conducted. The children's remains were never conclusively found, and law enforcement closed the case prematurely. Every missing persons case sits at the intersection of urgency, method, and human error. The deeper we look, the more we understand how protocols can either drive justice or bury it. When reviewing long-standing missing persons cases, certain patterns consistently surface, regardless of geography or era. Disappearances often occur in moments of transition: children playing unsupervised, adults traveling alone, or individuals in the middle of legal, financial, or emotional turmoil. These transitional states often blur timelines and create gaps in accountability, making investigation more difficult from the outset. Geographic isolation is another key factor. Amelia Earhart disappeared over thousands of miles of open ocean territory, nearly impossible to comb with precision, even today. Similarly, cases like Brandon Swanson's 2008 disappearance in rural Minnesota highlight how the absence of nearby witnesses or surveillance cameras leaves investigators reliant on limited physical clues. In several instances, personal vulnerabilities contributed to the circumstances. Jimmy Hoffa's entanglement with high-risk figures, mob bosses, corrupt officials, and political adversaries placed him squarely in danger. Others, like the Sodder children, were failed by inconsistent law enforcement response, poor documentation, and systemic assumptions that foreclosed deeper investigation. Mental health struggles, substance abuse, and strained relationships also emerge as recurring themes, not always as causes, but as context that complicates searches. When authorities do not prioritize these early indicators, valuable time and leads are lost. These commonalities aren't coincidences. They reveal systemic blind spots. Recognizing these patterns is essential to improving investigative methods and preventing future disappearances from becoming permanent mysteries. Jimmy Hoffa wasn't just a labor leader, he was a political force. As president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Hoffa commanded both respect and fear. His ability to mobilize tens of thousands of workers made him a household name, and, simultaneously, a liability to those who preferred power in the shadows. By the time Hoffa vanished on July 30, 1975, his career had already been marred by federal indictments and prison time. He was seeking to reclaim his leadership, but his re-entry was not welcomed by everyone. That summer afternoon, Hoffa told family he was meeting two men, one a known mob associate, the other a fellow union leader, at the Machus Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. He was never seen again. His car was found unlocked. No security footage captured his departure. Dozens of tips surfaced. Claims of shallow graves, body encasement in concrete, and disposal in New Jersey landfills. The FBI pursued leads for decades, even excavating suburban properties, but no physical trace has ever confirmed Hoffa's fate. The prevailing theory? Hoffa was silenced, either for threatening the wrong alliance or attempting to reclaim a post others had already divided. The men he planned to meet denied the appointment entirely. Polygraph tests were inconclusive. Witnesses recanted or disappeared, despite thousands of hours logged by investigators. The Hoffa case remains a cold file with national implications. His disappearance wasn't just the erasure of a man. It was a warning to others who walked too close to power. Hoffa's fate may be buried beneath layers of concrete, lies, or silence, but its shadow still lingers in labor and criminal justice circles today. Amelia Earhart was more than an aviator. She was a symbol of defiance in an age that discouraged women from ambition. By 1937, she had already made history multiple times, but it was her final journey, an attempt to fly around the globe, that turned her from a pioneer into a legend. Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan departed from Miami in June 1937, reaching Lae, New Guinea by July. With only 7,000 miles to go, their next target was Howland Island, a speck in the Pacific. But somewhere between La Vie and Howland, contact ceased. Radio transmissions grew garbled. Navigational aids failed. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, stationed near Howland, picked up fragments but never made visual contact. Then, silence. Initial searches were massive, covering over 250,000 square miles of ocean, but turned up nothing. Theories bloomed. A crash and sink into deep waters, captured by Japanese forces. Survival on a remote island. Bones discovered on Nikumaro Island decades later were inconclusive. A 2018 forensic reassessment suggested a partial match with Earhart, but it remains debated. The deeper mystery lies in what wasn't done. Poorly coordinated radio frequencies, reliance on visual sightings in vast oceanic territory, and unclear emergency procedures all contributed to the vacuum of answers. Some evidence was lost, some never pursued. Others were buried beneath Cold War politics and myth. Amelia Earhart's case endures, because it's not just about a missing pilot. It's about what happens when the limits of human ambition meet the failures of human planning. Her disappearance may remain unsolved, but her legacy endures in every investigation that learns from what went wrong. On Christmas Eve, 1945, the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia erupted in flames. George and Jenny Sodder, and 4 of their 9 children escaped, but 5 never emerged from the burning house. Firefighters arrived too late to save the structure, and by morning, nothing remained but ashes. Officials concluded the children had perished in the fire, yet no human remains were ever found in the debris. That's where the questions began. Experts later confirmed that a fire intense enough to reduce 5 bodies to nothing would have incinerated the household appliances too, but they remained recognizable. George's attempts to re-enter the house during the fire were mysteriously thwarted. His ladder was missing, later found in a ditch, and both of his coal trucks, intended to reach the roof, wouldn't start. Jenny began noticing inconsistencies. A stranger had visited weeks before, inspecting the fuse box. A woman in Charleston claimed she'd seen the missing children with strangers the morning after the fire. Sightings continued for decades, one even describing a group of children matching their descriptions living in Florida. Despite these clues, local authorities refused to reopen the case. The Sodders erected a billboard on Route 16, pleading for information. They funded private investigations and wrote letters to the FBI. A photo mailed to them in 1967 showed a man resembling their missing son, with cryptic writing on the back. The FBI declined to pursue it further. The official conclusion remained unchanged, but the Sodder family never accepted it. To them, it wasn't a house fire. It was a cover-up or abduction cloaked in smoke and silence. To this day, the case serves as a haunting example of how investigative missteps, rushed conclusions, and ignored anomalies can permanently obscure the truth. On May 3, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann disappeared from a holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, Portugal, while her parents dined nearby with friends. She was asleep beside her twin siblings. The door was unlocked. The timeline, just a 30-minute window, was tight. Yet it was enough for Madeleine to vanish. The case became a global obsession. Media saturated the public with conflicting stories. Early Portuguese police efforts were chaotic. The scene wasn't sealed, fingerprints were compromised, and leads went cold. Initial suspicion turned on the parents themselves, creating international tension. Later, attention shifted to a potential abduction. A key figure emerged: German national Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender known to be in the area. In 2020, German authorities named him a suspect, citing circumstantial evidence and his phone being near the McCann residence that night. But hard evidence, no DNA, no confession, no witness, remains elusive. The investigation spans 3 countries and millions in funding. False leads, fraudulent psychics, and public scrutiny have clouded the process. Yet public interest hasn't waned, and neither has the pain for the McCann family, who continue their search. This case illustrates the consequences of mishandled beginnings. Had police preserved the scene, followed every protocol, or acted swiftly in the first few hours, the outcome might be different. Instead, the world is left with sketches, theories, and a child's photo that never ages. Madeleine McCann's case embodies every missing child tragedy, a blur of hope, guilt, blame, and mystery. The question isn't only what happened to her, but how so many mistakes can compound in the search for one little girl. The ripple effects of unresolved disappearances reach far beyond the victims themselves. They disrupt families, distort justice systems, and alter public trust in institutions meant to protect. Each unsolved case invites speculation, some grounded in fact, others fueled by desperation or imagination. Conspiracy theories, especially in high-profile cases, often overshadow evidence. Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance spawned rumors of government complicity, mob retribution, and covert burial sites beneath football stadiums. In Madeleine McCann's case, tabloid speculation accused family members, hotel staff, and international traffickers, many without supporting proof. This frenzy often overwhelms legitimate leads, wastes resources, and further traumatizes families. But behind the noise, certain theories demand serious scrutiny. In the Sodder case, the absence of remains, tampered evidence, and persistent sightings point to a potential abduction. Amelia Earhart's last flight sparked debates over military secrets and clandestine landings, some theories supported by intercepted signals and field reports still under review. These cases underscore a painful truth. Not all disappearances are random. Some are premeditated, politically motivated, or carefully concealed. Others are the result of tragic accidents exacerbated by poor investigative response. Systemic flaws, miscommunication between jurisdictions, lost records, or a lack of urgency in early hours continue to plague modern investigations. Even when advancements like satellite imaging and forensic gene mapping emerge, they are often deployed too late. Meanwhile, public engagement can be both asset and liability. Crowdsourced sleuthing has uncovered new leads in cold cases, yet it can also amplify falsehoods and interfere with active investigations. What these implications reveal is the urgent need for standardized international protocols, investment in forensic infrastructure, and empathetic, persistent law enforcement. The truth is not always hidden. It's often lost in the noise. And without reform, many future disappearances will meet the same silent fate. In the age of digital surveillance and DNA databases, solving missing persons cases should be easier than ever. Yet cold cases continue to accumulate, and the reasons are complex. Many historic disappearances occurred long before modern tools existed. Investigators today face missing files, destroyed evidence, and contradictory witness statements decades old. Even when new technologies exist,